Hey, this is Kevin Syracuse. We're live outside here at Sports Hour.
Did you get that?
Oh my God! Doesn't hit your face.
I understand it's football, but it's not football.
Good evening and welcome into Sports Hour live here in the WNYF studios. I'm your host Kevin Syracuse, along with Associate Director of Career Development and Bracketologist Chris LeGros. Chris, happy to have you back with us once again.
Oh, thanks for having me again.
Oh, no problem. This is a great time of year to talk college basketball, and who better to do it than with you as a bracketologist, like I said. Now, something that I forgot to mention last week was how you became a bracketologist, and I think that's worth noting for sure, especially from the guy who taught it to you and gave you your certificate. So do you want to just quickly go over that?
Sure. About 7 years ago, Joe Lunardi from ESPN was doing a class through St. Joseph's University, which is where he worked at the time, and it was a non-credit certificate class, and I decided to take it. It was a lot of fun, and it was actually done mostly by phone because video conferencing wasn't as good at the time. But we learned a lot. It was fantastic to learn right from him. He knows his stuff. He practically invented all of this. So from there, I just started trying to do my own every season, every week, and learning all I could about it. So it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. And now you're able to teach others what you've learned. As, like I said last week, me, Josh, Dee, and Meyer took your class this semester, and that was a great experience. But the thing is, with a subject like this, you could be the smartest guy or girl around. You could be as good as you are with it, or Joe Lunardi, but I don't think anyone could have predicted what's happened in this tournament this year.
No way. No, you're absolutely right. No, there's always surprises in the tournament, but this year I think there were more than most.
Yeah, so starting with the first round, I'm just going to go over all the upsets that we had in the first round, and then we can just get right into it after that. So starting with probably the biggest one, number 15, Oral Roberts defeated the number 2 seed Ohio State 75-72. Then number 14, Abilene Christian defeated number 3 Texas 53-52. The 13 seed Ohio beat the 4 seed Virginia Cavaliers 62-58. North Texas, a 13 seed, beat Purdue, a 4 seed, 78-69. And then to finish it off, Oregon State, a 12 seed, beat Tennessee, a 5 seed, 70-56. So after the first round, there were 0 perfect brackets, and it was the first time in tournament history that 4 teams seeded 13 or worse have reached the second round. So it was just insanity.
It was chaos. I don't know if you know this, but there's only been 2 15 seeds that have made the Sweet 16. The first one was Florida Gulf Coast, Dunk City from 2013, and then this year Oral Roberts made it. So as soon as a team like that breaks through, brackets are going to get broken. And Oregon State was also a big surprise. They stole a bid from Louisville or Colorado State, one of those teams, and by winning the Pac-12 tournament, and they have not stopped since.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, we were talking about it before the show. Just any given day. I mean, this same can go for any sport, but especially in March with college basketball, you got to be able to bring your best. You cannot overlook any team because, again, like Oral Roberts, a 15 seed, I don't know what the chances of them winning were before the game, but for them to beat Ohio State, I mean, I had Ohio State in the finals, losing in the finals to Gonzaga.
Yeah, slim to none for a 15 to beat a team as good as Ohio State, but they had some good players. One of the highest scoring players in the country plays for them, and same thing with Ohio beating Virginia. You might think, well, how can a 13 beat a 4 like that? But Virginia was coming off a COVID pause, and Ohio has a player that's probably going to be drafted pretty high in the draft this year. So anything can happen.
Now, something bad that occurred from this, was that EJ Liddell received death threats and racist comments from people on social media. And as much as you want to win your brackets and you want your teams to win, that is just totally uncalled for. It's not right. I don't care who you are. No one deserves to, get that kind of slander. These guys are human, Like I was saying, any given day, anything can happen. Just because Ohio State lost, it's not the end of the world. And that's just totally wrong and uncalled for. And you feel bad that it escalated to something like that, where this guy's looking at his phone after the game, receiving death threats, all because he lost a basketball game.
Well, I know that fans are short for fanatics, but that's no excuse for this at all. These are college students, and they're playing a sport, they're playing a game, they're playing at a very high level, but there is no call for that in any sport at any level, really in anything at any level. So just awful that happened.
Yeah, for sure. Now moving on to the round of 32. Now, I was a little confused because when I saw the schedule that they were playing today, I was like, wait, they're playing on Monday? But it was pushed back a day because of COVID this year, correct?
Yes. Yep.
So the round of 32 was yesterday, Sunday, and today, Monday. So starting with yesterday, more upsets because why not? Oral Roberts won again. They beat Florida, a 7 seed, 81-78. Oregon State won again. They defeated the number 4 seed, Oklahoma State, 80-70. And Oklahoma State, they were another team like Ohio State. I had Oklahoma State playing Ohio State in the Final Four.
Yeah, that's another game where Oklahoma State had one of the best players in the country, and they just didn't get it done against a team that was hot. So Cunningham's going to be a high pick in the draft, but just not enough to overcome how well Oregon State was playing.
Moving down the list, then we saw the Syracuse Orange defeat West Virginia 75-72. Syracuse was an 11 seed, West Virginia a 3 seed. Now Chris and I are obviously happy with that outcome, as we are both Syracuse fans. And I remember you saying last week, West Virginia, they were seeded a little too high in your opinion, correct?
Yeah, I had them seeded as a 4. They didn't finish the season all that well. I figured they would deserve about a 4 seed. Instead, the committee flipped them and Oklahoma State. And now actually they're both out. You wonder how Syracuse might have done against Oklahoma State and vice versa with West Virginia and Oregon State. But that Syracuse zone, teams don't see it. They don't see it during the year, and Syracuse plays it all the time, and they play it at a really high level. So it's very hard for a team with a short turnaround to prepare for. And when Buddy Boeheim is hitting all his shots like he's been, it's a good recipe for Syracuse.
I got to give Buddy Boeheim credit because I was one of those people when he came in as a freshman, he averaged 6.8, and I was like, I don't know if this kid has what it takes to be a D1 basketball player. And I kind of thought along the same lines as a lot of people. He's only on the team because his dad's a coach. He doesn't deserve it. Yeah, maybe he can hit a few shots here and there, but I didn't think he was going to be as good as he is now. He's averaging almost 18 a game, and he's arguably the best player on the team right now.
Yeah, he's really come around this year. Obviously he's been hot the last 5-6 games at least, but he's a shooter, and he's working with Jerry McNamara, one of the best shooters in Syracuse history. He's an assistant coach, and he's really improved Boeheim's game, and so he's showing he's more than just the coach's son.
Now, speaking of Boeheim, we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about Jim Boeheim, as this is the 20th Sweet 16 appearance for Jim Boeheim in 45 years. And again, say what you want about Jim Boeheim, but the guy gets it done when it comes tournament time. Because I was saying this last week, I felt like I didn't pick Syracuse to get into the bracket, which in our class it kind of cost me when we constructed the bracket. But I said on the show last week, I think it was on the show that I said this, but once Syracuse gets into the tournament, they're either one and done or they're going to go on a run. Mm-hmm. Because Boeheim's just that good of a coach where he can get his guys to perform well. And the same thing in 2016 when I was talking about the St. Bonaventure snub and Syracuse got in over them. Well, the Orange made it all the way to the Final Four that year.
Yeah, they have a way of turning it on, and most of all, I think it's that zone. It is very hard to prepare in just a couple games for that zone. You don't see it much of the time during the year. Very few teams play it full time the way Syracuse does, and Boeheim always gets the right size and shape of players to play it really well. So very, very hard to beat with a short prep time.
Well, just a couple minutes left, so a couple other games I want to highlight here. So also yesterday, we saw another huge upset. The number 1 seed, Illinois, went down to Loyola Chicago, the 8 seed, 71-58. Now, I don't know if this is as huge of an upset because Loyola Chicago, they've been there before, and I think a lot of people realize how good they were. But I think it's just big because Illinois was playing so well, and they were a 1 seed, and still, a small school to beat a big school, and the whole Sister Jean side of it. It was just cool to watch.
Yeah, it's fun when those things happen. I mean, I had Illinois in the final. I was sure they were going to make the final. They were playing so well going into the tournament. But so was Illinois. So was Loyola Chicago. I mean, they were playing fantastic. They're a team that probably deserved an 8 seed, but probably have the talent and the skill to be a higher seed than that. So it was they got it done, and now they've got a path to the Elite 8, maybe even another Final Four.
Yeah, it's fun to watch. That's why I love March so much, because small teams like that, you think the big school out of the state of Illinois. Oh, I'm going to pick Illinois because they're a 1 seed. But we have little Loyola Chicago and 101-year-old Sister Jean making another dance. You got to love it. She is 101, right?
I believe so. Oh, it's so much fun to see that. People get so into it. And that's the healthy side of being a fan, I think, right? Not people harassing and trolling people online, but when you see fans like that have been in it for life, 80, 90 years like that, you just love to see that, I think. Exactly.
Now, today's upset was Oregon, a 7 seed, defeated Iowa, a 2 seed, 95-80. Now, Oregon got a free pass because of VCU had to go home because of COVID protocols. So I think some people were like, I think VCU could have won. Oregon might have got off a little bit easy. I mean, obviously, there's nothing they could do with COVID. But the fact of the matter is they just got a free pass into the round of 32. But they made the most of it, and they came ready to play.
Well, a 7-10 game is sometimes almost a toss-up. So you're right, that could have been an upset by VCU had they played. But this is a huge upset because we're now the likely player of the year, Luka Garza, is done. And Iowa was a very exciting, high-scoring team, and Oregon just outplayed them today.
Well, 1 minute left, so I want to do a live update here. So Michigan just scored. It is 82-72, 2:07 left in the game. They are playing LSU, the 8 seed. And then we have Florida State, a 4 seed, winning 34-27 over Colorado, a 5 seed. Alabama and Maryland, 8:30 left in the first half. Alabama's up 27-22. And then tipping off in about a half hour, we have USC and Kansas. USC, the 6 seed, Kansas, the 3. Before we came into the station, Creighton beat Ohio 72-58. UCLA won big over Abilene 67-47, and then Gonzaga won, beating Oklahoma 87-71. So that will do it for this segment. Chris, thank you for coming on.
Thanks, always fun.
We'll look forward to having you on again this year to talk some more college basketball.
Great, thank you.
But as for the NBA, Myra will be on in 2 minutes to talk about what's going on in that league.
No time, just sign on the line at the post office for selective service.
Hey guys, if you're about to turn 18, you've got to register with Selective Service. It's simple. Just go down to the post office, fill out a card, and turn it in. That's all there is to it. There's no draft now. You're just adding your name to Selective Service's list in case there's a national emergency.
So if you're 18 now,
Register with Selective Service. It's quick, it's easy, and it's the law.
Takes no time, just sign on the line at the post office. Selective Service.
What a great time for a drink. What a great time for a drink. What a great time for a drink.
If it's time for a drink this many times a day, you're not a social drinker. You're a problem drinker. And you could be well on your way to really messing up your life. Think about it. Talk to somebody about it. Do something about it before it's too late. A message in the interest of your better health from the American Medical Association.
This is not a commercial. If you think measles, mumps, whooping cough, or polio are nothing to worry about, you'd better think again, because they could make your child go blind or deaf. They can cripple or kill. To protect children, you have to get them immunized. Get them their shots. It costs nothing or very little, so get it done now by your doctor or local health center. Your child's future is in your hands. Don't let her down.
A message in the interest of better health from the American Medical Association.
Welcome back to Sports Hour. Meyer Mikulski joins us now to talk about the NBA. And Meyer, before we get into the game, some sad news to pass along. NBA legend Elgin Baylor passed away today at the age of 86.
And it was reported that he also died of natural causes. And it's better to go out like that than to go out because somebody killed you or you had a disease.
Or COVID or something like that. Yeah, Elgin Baylor, one of the all-time greats. He finished his career with averages of 27.4 points per game, 13.5 rebounds, and 4.3 assists. And, you know, just what can you say about a guy like that? Also, the only one to score more than 60 points in the playoffs. I can't remember exactly what year that was, but I'm looking at his stats now. He had years where he averaged 34, 35, 38 points per game. He was just that good.
And I think it's a shame that the basketball community doesn't think of him highly enough, especially the fact that he didn't end up winning a ring, but he was scoring all those points. But that's why you got to give people their flowers while they're still here.
Yeah, I mean, that's a perfect example. When you think of the all-time greats, you automatically think of LeBron and Jordan and all the newer guys. But I think people forget about guys like Elgin Baylor and Kareem and Wilt Chamberlain, Bill Russell, all those guys.
And Elgin Baylor, he fell victim to Bill Russell's teams in the finals.
Yeah, so sad to see, but like Meyer said, luckily it was just because of old age and it wasn't something more unfortunate. But as for the current league here, so we're going to talk about a couple games from each night over the weekend, starting with Friday. And we had a great game between the Utah Jazz and the Toronto Raptors, and the Jazz escaped here 115 to 112.
So both teams, they shared the wealth when it came to scoring, and the game came down to the wire, as you saw. And Siakam, he missed a critical shot. But I think despite the win, I think the Jazz might be coming back to earth because they faced recent adversity. And this is probably the first time this season where they faced adversity. They've been 5-5 in their last 10 games, but I feel like that might be good for them in the long run because you don't want to be like the Clippers who didn't face adversity last year, and then when that adversity hits you in the playoffs, you don't know how to respond to that.
Yeah, I've always been a firm believer that teams need to lose sometimes. You can't just keep winning and winning and winning because, like you said, you get to the playoffs and you kind of. By then, you're like, oh, this is easy. We're a 1 seed playing an 8 seed. We can take our foot off the gas a little bit. And then something like Oral Roberts beating Ohio State happens. And the Jazz could be at home on their couches instead of going further into the playoffs. So I think it's good no matter who you are, any sport, any league. You got to lose every so often just to refocus and reevaluate.
I think on the Raptors side of things, Siakam, he just had tough luck in the clutch this season because he had a similar situation against the Timberwolves. I believe he had a layup, and it rolled in and out the same way he missed that three. And it makes me question, is Siakam really a go-to guy? Yes, he's the go-to guy for the Toronto Raptors, but is he a go-to guy as far as the entire league is concerned?
Yeah, I saw a clip where it showed a bunch of Pascal Siakam clips where there were like 4 or 5 where he had a chance to tie or win the game, and they would just go in and out. And he was that close, but yet so far.
Yeah, and it looked like the Raptors were turning the corner just a month ago, but they've just been on a slump, and they've been 1-9 in their last 10 games.
Before I go on, I just want to kind of correct myself. I know the Jazz won this game, so they didn't lose, but to rephrase what I said, I think it's, like you said, it's good when teams face adversity. But I still think, sometimes it is good to lose too.
Yeah.
If you're on a, 15-game losing streak, as much as it stinks to lose that 16th game, it might be good to kind of hit the reset button. All right, so moving on, another game out west, the Blazers defeated the Mavericks 125-119.
Yeah, it took C.J. McCollum a couple of games to get back to his usual self after coming off a foot injury, but now he looks to be officially back. And now Damian Lillard doesn't have to carry the team on his back anymore.
Yeah, that's huge having C.J. McCollum back. Do you know what Portland's record was in the time that McCollum was out?
To be honest, I haven't paid that much attention in depth to the Blazers.
Well, they are 25-17 right now. They are tied for 5th place with the Nuggets. So they're only 5.5 out of the Jazz for first place. So it's not like it was that costly of an injury where they're down, as a 9 or a 10 seed right now.
Because Damian Lillard, he's just that good.
Yeah. So they're still in it. But like you said, now that McCollum's back, look for the Trailblazers to really kind of take off here. Now, real quick, I want to talk about the Mavericks real quick. What's going on with Kristaps Porzingis? Because after the Knicks traded him, that was supposed to be the big duo, Porzingis and Luka. But it really hasn't came to fruition like the Mavericks hoped for. They are currently in 8th place right now with a 22-19 record.
Maybe that injury he suffered in New York might still be playing in his mind. Like, it took Derrick Rose some years to mentally recover from his injury, so maybe that's what Porzingis is going through.
Well, we'll see if he can rebound like McCollum has, but yeah, it just hasn't been the same because that was supposed to be the new dynamic duo.
Yeah.
With KP and Luka, but like I said, just really hasn't worked out just yet.
Don't get it wrong though, Porzingis, he has his games where he looks like the Porzingis from the Knicks, but then he has a game like he had the other day where he only scored 11 points on 11 shots.
Yeah, there's just really no consistency. But moving on to Saturday's game, so Atlanta won their 8th straight. They defeated the Lakers 99-94. But the big story here, the Lakers lose LeBron indefinitely, a ankle sprain that is going to force them to be on the bench, which is something that we're not used to because LeBron just doesn't get hurt.
Yeah. I mean, before we talk about the Lakers, we got to give the Hawks their flowers because they've gone under the radar recently, and they're currently 4th in the East. They've won 8 straight, and I feel like Nate McMillan, he's made a huge difference for them. And he's coached in the playoffs each of the last 4 seasons. I feel like his defensive mindset, I feel like it will serve the Hawks well in the long run.
Yeah, so the Hawks are 22-20 right now. They are in 4th place, and they are 7.5 back of the 76ers for first place. So that just goes to show that you go on a little bit of a streak, and you're just right into the thick of things here.
Especially in the East this year.
Yeah, because Atlanta, they were in the bottom of the conference for the longest time. But like I said, they're right in the middle of it right now with the 4 seed.
And this is what we expected out of the Hawks in the beginning of the season. So it's good to see them finally turning the corner.
Now, as for the Lakers and LeBron, is there a timetable for his return?
They just said indefinitely as of right now.
So I'm looking at an article here. It says Lakers star expected to miss several weeks with high ankle sprain. So no exact timetable, but the fact of the matter is LeBron's going to be out for a good amount of time, which, again, is something that the basketball world is not used to.
Yeah. And they were already struggling without Anthony Davis alone. But now, I feel this could actually serve the Lakers well in the long run, because it reveals who they could trust as the third guy with LeBron and AD out.
Yeah, I agree. Just a few minutes left, so moving on now to Saturday's other game. The Grizzlies took their revenge on the Warriors as they won this game 111-103.
So if the season ended today, the Grizzlies would play the Warriors in the play-in tournament. So the Grizzlies are currently in 10th place, while the Warriors are currently in 9th. Overall, I feel the Grizzlies have been competitive this year, but they haven't had a fully healthy squad. Their second best player, Jaren Jackson Jr., he has not played this season, and I feel like he would make a huge difference for them.
And what's going on with the Warriors? I know they've dealt with some injuries too, but what do you think is their main thing that's hampering them right now?
So Stephen Curry, for one, he's going to be out for a little bit too, because he has a bruised tailbone. But I think without him, they don't look like a playoff team, really. And their supporting cast, they've been a mixed bag this whole season. You never really know what you're going to get with Wiggins, Oubre, Draymond Green, Jordan Poole, etc.
Well, moving on to yesterday's games, we have two to talk about. And the first is Philadelphia and New York, as the Sixers narrowly escaped 101-100.
Yeah, I know you weren't happy about this one, Kevin, but the Sixers, they've quietly been handling their business, being in first place, even though all the attention is on the Nets right now. But I believe they could potentially be the biggest threat to the Nets when healthy. And towards the end of the game, Harris, he made a crucial three from the right corner and a pair of free throws, which he got because of a call that went in their favor that probably shouldn't have gone in their favor. But, you know, that's how it goes.
Yeah, I was going to say, isn't this the second game in the last week between the Knicks and the 76ers that have been, it came down to a crucial call by the officials?
They had, I'm not sure if they had a crucial call against the Sixers other than this situation, but I do know the Nets when Kyrie Irving slapped the ball to Julius Randle's hand. But they called travel on Julius Randle.
Maybe that's what I was thinking of. I thought there was another game between the Knicks and the 76ers that came right down to the wire. Like I said, I'll have to double check on that. The other game from last night, the Pacers won back-to-back versus the Heat, and they took this one 109-106.
Yeah, it was well balanced as far as their scoring attack for Indiana. They had 7 players in scoring in double figures. They've fallen off recently, but it was a well-needed victory for them.
Well, now just a minute left, so I just want to talk about some games from tonight's slate here. So let's see. Currently, the Kings are beating the Cavs 102-89. Just under 8 minutes to go there. The Thunder are beating the Timberwolves 59-58. That game's in the third quarter. The Hornets and the Spurs 41-30. The Hornets are winning right now. See if any games went final. No games went final yet, so a few that are just starting, and then we also have the Hawks and the Clippers set to tip off at 10 o'clock. So, Meyer, thank you for coming on. And real quick, as long as we're talking about basketball, we do have a final. Michigan beat LSU 86-78. So, Meyer, thanks for coming on, and we'll have to talk to you again in the near future about the NBA. And next, we will have Josh to talk about the NHL.
To be the best at anything, you've got to be physically fit. Train hard. You've got to be sharp mentally and keep yourself in top shape. You've got to learn all there is to know about your sport and be a team player. And most of all, you must have the burning desire to be the best. Incidentally, that's exactly what it takes to be a Marine. Sports and the Marine Corps are natural partners because the demands are the same. Teamwork, pride, discipline, and physical fitness. If you're interested in developing to your full athletic potential, the Marine Corps Sports Program offers an opportunity to go as far as your athletic talent and desire will take you. even as far as the Olympic Games. If you seek the challenge of going out for the world's finest team, maybe you could be one of us, the few, the proud, the Marines.
You know, every mother wants their new baby to be healthy. I know that's how I felt about mine. But the mothers of these babies were not so lucky. These babies were born with the AIDS virus. Right now, there's no cure, but you can help prevent the spread of AIDS. If you're sexually active, please use a condom because it'll help prevent AIDS. Do it for yourself. Do it for your partner. Do it for the babies.
It would be nice if latex condoms were automatic. But since they're not, using them should be. Simply because a latex condom used consistently and correctly will prevent the spread of HIV.
Some people say the press goes too far sometimes.
Sorry, I don't think it's appropriate to comment at this time.
But how far is too far?
What about the allegations?
Had they stopped here, you may never have known about Watergate.
No comment. Please, no comment.
Or here, you may never have been fully informed about the environmental crisis.
Perfectly appropriate behavior.
Within policy. Would you say that secret activities are within policy?
Look, no comment.
Did you get authorization?
No, it was illegal. I said I cannot comment at this time.
Or had they stopped here, you may never have known if it concerned an issue that concerned you.
I'd like you to check the record.
Who else was involved? Who monitored this activity, sir?
Who approved the funding? The committee approved all.
Now you say the committee was involved, sir?
No.
To protect your right to be informed,
I have nothing more to say.
how far should the press go? To learn more about the free press, contact the First Amendment Center.
Josh Schmidt joins us now to talk some hockey. And Josh, before we get into the NHL, I just want to correct myself from last segment. So the Knicks lost to the 76ers 101-100 in overtime last night. They also lost to the 76ers 99-96 last Tuesday. So there were two very close games with Philadelphia. So the Knicks have fallen a little bit. They are in 7th place right now with a record of 21-22. But at least they are in the playoff picture, because we have a team that is not in the playoff picture or anywhere close.
Yeah, unfortunately. I mean, 7th place in the NHL right now will get you in last place in your division if you're in the Canadian division. But if you're in the East, like the Sabres are, they're the bottom of the Atlantic, just like the Titanic.
Yeah, so the big news of the week was that the Sabres finally fired Ralph Krueger. Now, I've been saying for weeks that it goes further than Krueger, and they're going to have to take a deep evaluation of the roster, but at the same time, they were on a 12-game losing streak, and something had to change because he clearly lost the locker room at that point, and there was just no effort at all on the ice. And they finally made the move, and now they have Don Granato as the interim head coach.
And along with that, they also fired assistant coach Steve Smith, thankfully, because as well as Krueger, they were both not working out at all with the team. They bring in Matt Ellis and Dan Girardi as interim assistant coaches. Excuse me. Dan Girardi is the one I'm looking forward to the most, as he was on the Rangers for most of his career. He just retired in 2019, and he was an amazing blue liner for any team he played for. So I'm looking forward to him working with Dahlin, working with Yoki Haru, Jacob Bryson, Will Borgen when he's healthy, and even some of the guys that have been there for a while, like Risto and McCabe. But I mean, Matt Ellis is Mr. Positivity, as they've always said. So I like what we have right now with coaches, but I hope they bring in a head coach sooner rather than later so he can get his system working with the team before next season starts.
Now, since you and I talked Sabres last, the rumors are true that Bruce Boudreau is interested in coming here. I mean, at least the rumors that you were telling me, and then I saw the same rumors on Twitter, and then more rumors came out, more reports came out. So it really does seem like he's interested in coming to Buffalo.
And there was a report that he had an interview for a coaching position not too long ago at the end of last week. Doesn't say who for, because the Rangers also fired their entire coaching staff 2 hours before a game and then proceeded to beat the Flyers 9-0. Had to say that one. Shout out to D, Flyers fan. Yep, he lost there. But no, so the Sabres are in the same head coaching hunt, just like the New York Rangers now, so there's a little bit of a competition there. But Kevin Adams said in his press conference when he fired Kruger, we're not going to rush this. We can hire a guy tomorrow or hire a guy in June. It doesn't matter when, as long as it's right this time. So they're looking at college coaches, they're looking at former NHL coaches, they're looking at guys all over the board.
Yeah, I mean, I would rather have them take their time and really evaluate this time, because the season's pretty much over right now.
Oh, it's been over.
Yeah, like they're not. It's not like they're going to hire Bruce Boudreau and he's going to lead them to the playoffs this year. Like, this season's a wash. So I'm already looking ahead to football season. So you take as long as you want. Find us the right coach so we can finally have some winning hockey next year.
For sure. Yep.
So before we talk about the Sabres more, they were in New York tonight. Do we have a final on that?
Not quite yet. Should be about ready for the final. It was 4-3 Rangers right before it came on. So, but Cousins and Skinner and Rasmus Asplund got goals in that so far. So it's good to see Cousins back. Skinner's kind of scoring again, and Asplund, he's showing what he's got. So that's good.
So if we have time, we will get back to the Sabres, and if we have a final, obviously we'll report that. But as for the rest of the league, starting with Friday. So a game out north, Vancouver and Montreal, and the Canucks took this one 3-2 in overtime.
Yeah, so this is helping Vancouver push for that number 4 spot in the north. Montreal is slipping a lot, as they were rivaling the number 1 seed with Toronto for a while, but it looked like their only success came against this Vancouver team, and now it's just disappeared. Vancouver and Calgary are definitely on the rise. And another thing to note with the Northern Division, Montreal and Edmonton were postponed tonight because 2 players on Montreal entered COVID protocols, and that's the first COVID protocol that had to be taken in the North Division. So that's interesting there. Wondering what's happened up there in Canada, because Canada's had this virus pretty much under control for the past little while here. So it's looking like this is maybe something, just kind of a fluky situation for the North. But yeah, Vancouver is definitely on the rise, and Montreal needs to start picking things up here, or they're going to see their playoff hopes disappearing.
So Montreal is in 4th place, like Josh said, in the Northern Division with 37 points. And then Vancouver's right behind them with 35. Now, did I see a stat that Carey Price has been playing a lot better lately? Because he had a very rough start to the season.
Yeah.
But he has improved over the last few weeks, correct?
Yeah, he's definitely come back. He's pushing to try to get to the playoffs a few more times before he's out of Montreal or before he retires. It's really a shame to see a great goalie like that never get a real shot at a cup yet. But if Montreal can hang on to this, I think that this might be their year to try to push for at least the conference finals. Maybe not the Stanley Cup finals, depending on if they do the North playing the West in the conference finals and the Central playing the East. But that's to be determined, I believe. And we're going to have to see if that plays out. But if Montreal can get it together, I think they can really string something together here and try to get Carey Price a shot at that ring.
Well, moving on now to Saturday's game that we want to highlight. It was between the St. Louis Blues and the San Jose Sharks, and the Blues took this one 5-2.
Yeah, so I mean, this is a very good win for the Blues. They're holding on to 4th place. They really need to win because that's a very tight West Division. And but the Sharks, I mean, they're looking just like the Sabres right now. They got to go in. They're not as bad, but they need to go into some sort of full rebuild mode. They haven't drafted too well. Erik Karlsson was their guy. They brought him in. They signed him in 2019 at a 11.5 for 8 years, and he's playing like a $4 million player right now. He'd be great for that team if he was on for $4 or $5 million for the next 3 years. But 11.5 for the next 6, it's not looking too good for his contract in San Jose right now.
Yeah, San Jose, they really fell off too. Joe Thornton, he's in Toronto, correct?
Yep, he's back in his home area of Toronto.
And Patrick Marleau went to Toronto, but he's back this year.
Yeah, he's back with San Jose. And San Jose coming off of Western Conference Finals appearance not too long ago, I believe 2 years ago, against the Vegas Golden Knights in their first season. So it's pretty surprising to see where they are now.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just a signal of the end of an era. Joe Thornton, he's gone, but he was getting old. Patrick Marleau's old. Joe Pavelski's getting up there.
Well,
Logan
he's
Couture.
not even there anymore. He's in Dallas.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And Mark-Edward Vlasic, he's not performing the way he used to. They don't have the goaltending like they used to. And it's just looking like it's time to rebuild. And I think next year's draft is probably the draft to do it. This year's is very hard to decide who you're going to draft so far because of the lack of playing.
Now, another Saturday game, we threw 2 in for Saturday, the Kings and the Knights, and the Kings took this one 3-1, surprisingly.
Yeah, so the Kings are actually on another one of the teams like Vancouver. They're on a tear coming back here. And Vegas was 7-3-0 in their last 10, and the Kings came in and toppled them here. Cal Peterson, former Sabres prospect, played at, I believe, Notre Dame. He had 41 saves in this game, and he's really come out as a possible backup. Well, I mean, he's more of a starter now with Jonathan Quick getting up there in age, but he's really solidified himself as a for sure backup for this team. And LA looks kind of legit. I'm not going to lie. I think LA could make a push for the playoffs as well. That West Division is very tight right now when it comes through 5 and 6 spots. So it's going to be a bit of a horse race here at the end in the West.
So Vegas is in first with 43 points. Colorado is in second with 40. And then Minnesota has 37, as do the Blues. And then the Kings have 32. The Coyotes are in 6th place with 31 points. And then San Jose and Anaheim are down at the bottom with 26 and 24.
Yeah, so San Jose and Anaheim are definitely the bottom feeders there, but I think Arizona and LA could definitely make a push here towards the end of the season. The trade deadline's coming up in about 20 days here, and I think it's going to be a real tight finish.
Now, a great game from yesterday, Nashville and Dallas. The Predators took this one 4-3 in a shootout, and this is another case where a team just really isn't performing that well this year. The Stars, a few months from being in the Stanley Cup, they are also towards the bottom of the division right now.
Yeah, it looks like they got that Stanley Cup final hangover, but I mean, both these teams are at the bottom of the division right now, and surprisingly,
yeah, they're only separated by 1 point.
Right, and surprisingly so, because both of them are very star-studded. As we saw in this game, Philip Forsberg showing off some dangles he has. He flips the puck over Miro Heiskanen, hits it up to himself, and then over the defender and around him, and almost one-handed tucks on Anton Khudobin. And then John Klingberg dangles between his own legs and rips a snipe from the point and puts it top corner for a goal for the Stars. So, despite them being bottom feeders, they really showed off what they got, and I think with a guy like Forsberg, it might be to show off what he's got for a trade, but that's yet to be seen. Nashville's been in heavy trade talks for Matthias Ekholm to leave, possibly also Philip Forsberg, so we'll have to see where that goes in the next 20 days or so.
And finally, a game from... Okay, that was tonight.
Yeah.
The Islanders and Flyers have played each other so much, I was looking at the scores here, and I couldn't keep them straight. So the Islanders defeated the Flyers 6-1 on Saturday, but as for tonight's game, the Islanders also won 2-1 in overtime.
Yeah, so the Flyers really got to start figuring something out here because they're slipping out of the Eastern playoffs really quick, and I believe they're in 4th right now. But between that embarrassment against the Rangers and then the 6-1 matchup on Saturday against the Islanders where they lost, and tonight's loss in overtime, it's not looking great for the Flyers right now. Carter Hart has been very shaky. Brian Elliott is doing well, but he's up there in age and he hasn't really had consistent playing time in these past few years. So the Flyers got to figure something out here. Sean Couturier is back, I believe, so that's good for them. And some of their offensive players have been performing really well. Joel Farabee and Jacob Voracek as always, but it's more the goaltending and the defense. The defense has been really sloppy, and the goaltending just hasn't been there.
Well, real quick, I just want to look at the standings because we do have a final. The Sabres lost 5-3.
Yeah, empty netter.
So right now in the East, Washington and the Islanders both have 44 points, followed by the Penguins with 40. The Bruins have 36. The Flyers 33. Like you said, they've been slipping a little bit. The Rangers now have, I don't think these updated yet, so probably 32. And then the Devils have 26, and then Sabres 16. They are 6-20-4.
Well, and real quick before we cut here, the Sabres have had a lot of injury issues. Eichel had been playing with a broken rib and a messed up ankle, and now he has neck issues. Kyle Okposo did not play tonight because he had an undisclosed injury. We don't know how long that's been going on. Carter Hutton left the game 3 minutes into the game tonight after taking an awkward hit right by the net. Probably tore something in his knee. Cousins is back, which is good. The team has looked different. They're not very lackadaisical anymore, and it looks like Don Granato's starting to get to them. But they're just getting unlucky with the injury bug. They just gotta play the rest of the season out, get the little victories where they can, and see where they can go from here.
And they got to find out what to do with their goalie situation because I don't know when Allmark comes back. Hutton's going to be out. They traded Johansson to the Avalanche.
Yep, so now it's Dustin Tokarski and Michael Hauser or Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, the Finnish wonder from Rochester.
Josh, you should try out.
Yeah, okay. How do I do a professional tryout contract?
All right, well, thanks for coming on, Josh. And to close out the show, we will have Aaron to come on to talk about the NFL and free agency because there have been a ton of moves that we need to cover in 13 minutes.
We've been down there. You gotta do the same. Post office, all you do is sign. So don't get nervous. Sign your name. Selective service. It takes no time. Just sign on the line at the post office. Selective service.
Hey guys, if you're about to turn 18, you've got to register with Selective Service. It's simple. Just go down to the post office, fill out a card, and turn it in. That's all there is to it. There's no draft now. You're just adding your name to Selective Service's list in case there's a national emergency.
So if you're 18 now, Selective Service, you gotta get down. Post office.
Register with Selective Service. It's quick, it's easy, and it's the law.
Takes no time. Just sign on the line at the post office. Selective Service.
What a great time for a drink. What a great time for a drink. What a great time for a drink.
If it's time for a drink this many times a day, you're not a social drinker. You're a problem drinker. And you could be well on your way to really messing up your life. Think about it. Talk to somebody about it. Do something about it before it's too late. A message in the interest of your better health from the American Medical Association.
This is not a commercial.
If you think measles, mumps, whooping cough, or polio are nothing to worry about, you'd better think again, because they could make your child go blind or deaf. They can cripple or kill. To protect children, you have to get them immunized. Get them their shots. It costs nothing or very little, so get it done now by your doctor or local health center. Your child's future is in your hands. Don't let her down.
A message in the interest of better...
You're not a social drinker. You're a problem drinker. And you could be well on your way to really messing up your life. Think about it. Talk to somebody about it. Do something about it before it's too late. A message in the interest of your better health from the American Medical Association.
This is not a commercial.
If you think measles, mumps, whooping cough, or polio are nothing to worry about, you'd better think again, because they could make your child go blind or deaf. They can cripple or kill. To protect children, you have to get them immunized. Get them their shots. It costs nothing or very little, so get it done now by your doctor or local health center. Your child's future is in your hands. Don't let her down.
A message in the interest of better health from the American Medical Association.
Welcome back to Sports Hour. We now have Aaron Sember to talk about the NFL once again.
Yep.
And Aaron, just like last week, it's not going to be as rapid because the moves aren't coming in like every other minute like they were last week because last Monday was the first day that teams could negotiate with players. But we still have had a ton of moves to cover.
Yep, exactly.
So I just want to talk about some of the big ones from today because, like I said, it's like every couple hours that they've been tweeting them out. But the big one today was that the Giants got Adoree Jackson.
Oh, yeah. A good secondary guy. He's been in the league for, I think about 5 years now. So, and he's also a good, you can use him on special teams too. So he's pretty versatile. He could play many positions. He's actually a pretty good kick returner or punt returner. I think he can do both, but he's just an all-around great athlete, so that was a good pick for the Giants.
Now, 4 hours ago, the Chiefs re-signed Daniel Sorensen on a one-year deal, so he will be back for his 8th season in Kansas City.
Yeah.
And that being said, what are your thoughts on the Chiefs offseason so far?
I think they've been pretty underrated. I really like Joe Thuney as, he's a really good guard, and then Kyle Long, who just came out of retirement, he's now on the Chiefs. And, I really never thought of guys coming out of retirement. I think Gronk kind of made that, famous, and then more guys are doing it now. But, we cut 2 of our tackles, and everyone was like, what are you doing? Like, Mahomes, he has 12 more years in his contract. Why are you getting rid of all these guys? But they signed better, solid hands, so that will be good for him, for more protection. And also, Daniel Sorensen is one of the best underrated. He's more of a hybrid player. You can play many positions, but he's a really good hard hitter. Every time he gets in and every time he makes a play, it's always impactful.
Yeah, so I'm going to use this time to talk about the Bills now, because I think you can start to put the Bills and the Chiefs in the same conversation, because I know a lot of teams have gotten better this offseason, and they're going to continue to get better, but I really think the AFC runs through first Kansas City and then Buffalo, at least as of now. Until a team can prove otherwise, right now it's Buffalo and Kansas City. And I've really liked the Bills' offseason so far. They've taken care of what they needed to. They re-signed their own. Matt Milano, Darrell Williams, John Feliciano. Last week, Tuesday, so a day after the show, I wish we could have talked about it last week, but last Tuesday they signed Emmanuel Sanders, 1 year, $6 million. He replaces John Brown as the number 2 wide receiver. I love that signing.
Yeah, the Bills need consistent targets, and Sanders, his career highlight was when he was in Denver, but he's still a solid hand. He's just a veteran guy, and I think just another weapon for Josh Allen to throw to. Like you said, John Brown's gone, so Emmanuel Sanders is definitely going to fill that role and probably fill the void, because I know Brown was injured for most of the season last year.
Yeah, so I think the Bills have had a great offseason with what they've had to work with, but I think they're still a little ways off to compete with teams like Kansas City or Tampa Bay in the NFC.
Yep.
Because the big need for the Bills this offseason was a pass rusher, a tight end, and maybe something with the running game. And they really haven't done anything to address that, but the money's been dry because of COVID. The salary cap dropped $9 million, and there's just really not enough money to go around right now. They made it their priority to re-sign their own, and that was, a good choice. You needed Matt Milano, or else you would have had to find another linebacker, probably for more money, if not the same money. You needed to keep your offensive line together for Josh Allen, and I guess you didn't really need a number 2 wide receiver, but if Emmanuel Sanders is there for $6 million, you got to go get him.
Yeah. Kevin, I wanted to ask you, what are your thoughts of the Bills potentially? I know we're kind of not really talking about the draft yet, but what are your thoughts of the Bills kind of looking after a running back to take in the draft? Because I feel like the rushing attack was something that was, kind of not there for the Bills last season.
Yeah, I think that's something that the Bills need to address, but I'm going to do that through free agency or via trade, because I don't want to waste a first-round pick on a running back. The Bills have 2 very good running backs in Devin Singletary and Zach Moss. I think a lot of people forget how good they can be. I think the problem with the running game is, A, they don't use it enough because teams know that Josh Allen he's just going to throw 40 or 50 times, or he's going to run 10 times himself.
Yeah.
But Singletary and Moss are very good. The one thing that I will say, though, is that they are very similar in that they are both a power back. Moss more so than Singletary because he has a little bit more shiftiness and speed. But I think that the thing that the Bills are missing is that speed running back. The one that can just burst through the line and take it 80 yards, or he can catch screen passes and be like a receiving running back. I was thinking about it today. If the Bills could emulate what they had a few years ago with Fred Jackson and C.J. Spiller, that'd be great.
Yeah,
like a veteran power back, and then a speedy young guy in C.J. Spiller. Because right now, Zach Moss would be like the Fred Jackson, and Singletary's like right in the middle. But they really don't have that CJ Spiller. So if they could find that, that'd be great. But again, the money's dry, and if you don't have enough money to sign or trade for a guy like Zach Ertz, but if you can't sign a top free agent this year, because I think the Bills have like 7.9 left in their salary cap, and they still might have to re-sign some of their own guys like Isaiah McKenzie and Dean Marlowe. And then you have to save money for the draft class too. So again, there's not enough money to go around to get that dominant pass rusher or that dominant tight end. So maybe in free agency, they just add a veteran running back who can be like I don't know if he's a free agent, but someone like a James White, someone like that. And then next year, you try to save some money and really get that dominant pass rusher or that tight end. And then who knows, maybe in the draft they can find someone. So I guess to answer your question, I'm going to look at pass rusher and tight end first in the draft because it's not going to be there in free agency because of the money. So I think in free agency with the remaining money, you shore up the rest of your team and just try to hope for the best with the draft with the pass rush and tight end. If not, you got to get after it next year then. But so moving on, the other moves today, speaking of the Bills, former Bills guard Brian Winters signed with the Cardinals. I believe that was a one-year deal. Chris Conley, former Chiefs wide receiver and Jaguars wide receiver, he went to Houston. And then the Bengals re-signed longtime punter Kevin Huber, bringing him back for a 13th season.
I always think special teams are very underrated, so if you can get a long-term punter and or kicker in this league, don't take it for granted.
So just a few minutes left. I want to take a look at each position here. Obviously, we're not going to have enough time to talk about all the signings, but if we could just highlight some of the top signings from each positional group, and then maybe next week or the week after, we could just, take a few positions per week. So starting with the quarterbacks here, what are your thoughts about this free agent class?
Very underrated. A lot of solid hands. Obviously, I saw Mitch Trubisky sign with the Bills.
Oh, that was the other one I forgot.
Yeah,
that was a great signing too. 1 year, $2.5 million.
The thing is, I think there's been a lot of those guys that have had success in the league, and I think that they were at one time starters. So I just feel like most of these guys will be good, solid role like backups and or if anything starters, because we have no idea what the season's going to look like by the time OTAs and preseason comes around.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of these guys are like the bridge quarterbacks. Like Andy Dalton signed with the Bears, and he's not the long-term answer there. They got to do something. They missed on Deshaun Watson. They missed on Patrick Mahomes. They traded up for Trubisky. Obviously, that didn't work out. Now they're going with Andy Dalton, but that's just 1 year, $10 million. So he's just the bridge quarterback. They'll probably draft someone, hope for the best there. Same with Tyrod. You don't know what's going on with Deshaun Watson, so more sexual assault cases are being brought upon Watson now. I don't know, are they going to draft a quarterback? Are they going to let Tyrod start and then bench him after 3 or 4 games for the rookie? Is Watson still going to be there? Jacoby Brissett, he went to the Dolphins for a year. Cam Newton, 1 year with the Patriots. Fitzpatrick, 1 year with the football team. So again, like you said, just a lot of
guys that have been there and done that.
Yeah, and they're just like the placeholders for now. Now running backs, these are pretty interesting. Aaron Jones, the Packers are my second team, so I really like this deal. 4 years, $48 million. He's one of the top 5 paid running backs in the league now. Chris Carson also went back to Seattle, 2 years, $14.6 million. Oh, okay. James White is a free agent. So those are pretty much the 2 main ones. But what do you think about the running backs?
I mean, Aaron Jones has really come along in the last 2 seasons. I think before that he wasn't really a big, name guy. And who was the other one? Sorry.
Chris Carson.
Chris Carson. He's a really solid player. I know he really didn't have too much to show last season. I think there was a lot of injuries last season. I think he was injured. I'm not sure, but I really wanted to talk about. I don't know if we talked about it last week or whoever. I think Trevor was on, but Kenny Galladay signed with the Giants, so that was big because the Giants have also really had a quiet but dominant offseason, so that's for sure. We'll definitely talk about that next week because we're running out of time, but yeah.
Yeah, that was, thanks for reminding me, that was the other big move of the week.
4-year deal for Kenny Galladay.
$72 million. So the Giants have pretty much done everything that the Bills did. They built up their defense, and now they gave Daniel Jones all the weapons that he needs to be successful. Now we'll see if he can take that next step. So unfortunately, that'll have to do it for this week. There's just so much to get to every time with the NFL, but I think we'll just kind of go position by position every week and take a look at the free agent class. So thanks for coming on, Aaron, and thank you again for watching another episode of Sports Hour here in Hendricks Hall. A reminder that our new time is now 9 o'clock every Monday night. So we will see you next Monday at 9. Have a good week.